Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're joining from. Um, you're welcome to this wonderful session. So I would love to confirm that I have you on the call. So before we kick off this event, kindly do all to just drop your name and where you're joining us from. You're welcome. My name is Anu Yenira and I'll be your host for today. So please do also just drop your name and your location wherever you're joining us from. We are glad to have you. We're going to be kicking off in the next 4 minutes. So whilst we're waiting, I would love for us to have some bit of engagement in the chat room. Let's make the chat room very interesting and let's bring it to life. Like I said, my name is Anu Yeniro and I'll be your host for today. So please, let's do well to just engage ourselves using the chat room. Wasiu Yusuf from Ibadan, Nigeria, thank you for joining. Chimadalu Uchuku joining from Abuja. Lovett from Switzerland, thank you very much for joining. Olushe from VI. You're welcome to this very important session. So we have a lot lined out in just 60 minutes. And if I would say to you, please do not miss any of the minutes as it promises to be very interesting. It promises to be productive and promises to be enlightening. So we're going to be starting in the next 3 minutes. Let's just familiarize ourselves by knowing each other. So let's just drop where you're dropping, where you're calling, dialing in from. Like I said, my name is Anu Yeniro, so I'll be waiting to read up to see where you're joining us from. Thank you. Once again from Lagos, Nigeria. Wherever you're joining us from, please let's get to know and meet you. So we're going to be kicking off shortly. So apologies, we're just waiting for other persons to dial in. We have quite a lot of amazing participants who also will be dialing in from different parts of the world. So while we're waiting for them, Ayobami, thank you for joining from Kaduna, Nigeria. Margaret from Enugu State, thank you very much for joining. Chidima from Port Harcourt, that's Rivers State in Nigeria, thank you for joining. Ayolua from Lagos, Michael Odebode from Ogun. It's nice to have you guys on the call. Thank you very much for joining this session. Like I said earlier, this session is going to be very productive. It's going to be enlightening and it's going to give you a whole lot of information. So we have amazing speakers on the call. So we'll be starting shortly in the next 1 minute. We're going to be kicking off. So we're going to start off this session on the dot, 5 p.m. Nigerian time on the dot. So we have like a minute to go. So while we're waiting, I'm still waiting to get to meet a lot of people on the call. Currently, we have over 100 persons on the call. So let's meet each other. Let's try and socialize. Yes, it's the virtual world. We can. Shudola Mayowa from Lagos. Mayowa, you're welcome. Thanks for joining the call. Thanks for joining the call. So, I think it's 5 p.m. Nigerian time, 5 p.m. Nigerian time, and take the time to kick off this amazing session, which I've been looking forward to personally, owing to the fact that I know that it's going to be very productive, it's going to be mind blowing, and it's going to be impactful. So, good evening, everyone, wherever you're joining me from. My name is Anu Uyeniro, and I'll be your host for today. You're welcome. I want to welcome you officially to the Microsoft Responsible AI Dashboard demo. That might sound a bit not too much, but I'm sure at the end of this session, I can promise you that at the end of this session, you have learned a lot about what it means. I mean, the dashboard itself, what it does, and how it can help you for all of us who are on the call, how it can help you. So, quickly before we go, like I said, my name is Anu. I did delivery and performance at DSN, and this evening I'm going to be co-hosting this event with my colleague from Microsoft, Audrey. I don't know if you want to say hello to a participant. Audrey, if you want to say hello to a participant, just to say hello.
All right, thank you, Anu. Good evening from Lagos, Nigeria. Can you hear me good?
Yes.
All right, great. Good evening, everyone. Wherever you're connecting from, thank you for making this time for us to learn more about responsible AI and all we have in package for you. So I'm Audrey Odogo. I'm here with Microsoft at Lagos, Nigerian office. Thank you. Thank you, Anu.
Thank you very much, Audrey. We have our amazing speakers also lined out, so I'm going to be introducing them one by one as time goes on. So, without further ado, without taking our time, probably start by saying that we would want to appreciate the support of the federal government of Nigeria, who has given us this platform in partnership with Microsoft and also the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy for partnering with DSN and Microsoft in delivering the Digital Skills Nigeria intervention, which is going to help deliver a lot of digital jobs to a lot of us who we believe are the next line of people to take on the work. So we want to appreciate them. I'm sure as the event goes on, we're going to be recognizing some of our participants or some of the representatives from them. So without taking our time, so the last few years, I've seen a proliferation of AI. I mean, AI ethics participation and guidelines. I mean, it's seen a lot of people talking about AI not being fair and all of that. But I must get to say, there are four key things that we believe that AI has to do. I mean, for AI models, when it's built, it's expected to be fair, it's expected to be accountable, it's expected to be transparent, and it's expected to be to provide safety. And in this line, we're going to be talking so much more about what responsible AI is. So before delving into the event, kindly allow me bring up who's going to be doing justice into giving us a bit of introduction into Microsoft and what this intervention, the Digital Skills Nigeria, is about. And no other person will be doing that other than Winnie Karanu, who is the philanthropy lead for Microsoft in Sub-Saharan Africa. And she's ready to just give us a brief introduction to the intervention. Winnie, are you ready for us?
Yes, I'm ready.
Thank you
I'm just
very much.
loading my presentation. Let me know if you can see my screen.
It's coming up. Yes, it's up now. It's up.
Okay, perfect. So as rightly said, I'm Winnie Karano. I'm the philanthropies lead for Sub-Saharan Africa, and I think just as a bit of background, Microsoft is focused on helping people excluded from the digital economy to attain knowledge, skills, and opportunities to gain jobs and livelihoods. And today, we'll talk about Digital Skills Nigeria, but this is part of a global initiative where we focus on building programs that are focused on skills for jobs and just not skills for skilling. So skills for jobs where we're able to not only train you, but able to connect you to opportunities in the market. So our partnership with the government is fundamental because it gives us an opportunity for us to scale. We have a huge commitment and ambitious goal to train 5 million Nigerians in the next 2 years, and connecting them to opportunities, getting them certified, and working with all the different states, different ministries as well, and literally leveraging all different modes of training. So if you think about, we have physical training at the centers, we have instructor-led trainings being driven by partners like Data Science Nigeria, but also in terms of online training that we have a platform called the Digital Skills Nigeria platform where you can go get trained and get certified as well. I think our commitment is, as he rightly said, it's an ambitious goal, and so and we cannot do it alone. And so that's why we partner with organizations like the government, employers, and the nonprofits who are, they're able to identify people are underserved and not able to reach to those opportunities and able to connect them to the training and the services that we do provide, and then also continue to connect them to opportunities in the job market. And this is just not limited to opportunities in Nigeria. I think what we're seeing now is there's a huge gig economy, and so the opportunities are now global, and so we are competing at a global scale. And so even the way that you're getting skilled and getting certified is important, that you're able to access opportunities globally. So I'm very excited about about this particular workshop because it brings to life the things that we are trying to do, and why the Data Scientist Network, which is formerly Data Science Nigeria, is very fundamental to us, because they are the core of the how we do our work. So we work fundamentally with our nonprofits, and they work with all these different organizations and institutions to be able to, as I rightly said, identify opportunities, get you skilled, get you certified, give you access to employability tools, get you prepared for employment opportunities, and help you improve your livelihoods. And this could be in terms of entrepreneurship, it could be in terms of you getting access to an actual job, an internship, an apprenticeship. And so we're really committed in being able to do that. And Data Science Network is just not the only partner we're working with. As you can see in our backdrops, there are all these other different partners that you're working with. So really taking advantage of that. And as we go into the details of what exactly do we train you on, so there's foundational skills, which I just mentioned. It's important that you're able to know how do you access opportunities, how do you position yourself, how do you put in your CV, how do you ensure that you're able to have projects that can expose you to the right kind of skilling. So those foundational skills are really important. And then we think about role-based skills. These are skills that we are seeing in the market that are in demand. And so really being able to provide the right content and tools and certifications that are aligned to what the employers are looking for is also very critical. And we also look at technical skills, so advanced skilling in terms of different workloads and different skill set that you might need to be able to get certified on, so that you can be able to access opportunities. I think Olubayo mentioned that as long as you have a Microsoft Azure certification, you'll access an opportunity. So you can see that there are opportunities. It's just a matter of being able to match what people are being trained on versus what that we're trained on versus what the market is looking for. And this is kind of the stack of the content that we have, and this is not exhaustive. So we have this, which is mainly focused on our Skills for Job programs, but we also have a lot of content on cybersecurity. We have quite a bit of content as well on sustainability, and especially as we think about sustainability from a tech perspective. And so we are really trying to continue to expand our content so that we make sure that we're able to address the needs of the market. And also I wanted to highlight that, in partnership with all our different nonprofits, we're also providing all these vouchers that are discounted at $15 at the moment. And so, once you get trained, I think the biggest barrier as well is getting certified and getting that at an affordable price. So we are also making sure that we're able to access that as affordable as possible. And so one of the things that we are still also working on with other partners is to get this to a zero amount. So still working on it. I think we already have an initiative where we are providing 1,000 vouchers. And so take advantage of the opportunity. If you're very interested, please reach out to Data Science Network, and then they can be able to connect you to those opportunities. And just to go, I guess, to why we're here today and why responsible AI and why this is important. I think as a company, when your technology changes the world, you bear the responsibility to help address what the world has helped to create, what you have helped the world to create. And so as Microsoft, we think about our work is guided by core set of principles of fairness, reliability, safety, privacy, security, inclusiveness, and transparency and accountability. And we are putting all these principles into practice across the company to develop and deploy AI that will have a positive impact in the society. We take a cross-company approach through cutting-edge research, best of breed engineering systems, and excellence in policy and governance. And I think what is really important here is to try and see are we able to enable AI developers, decision makers, data scientists, and being able to understand how do they develop these technologies responsibly. And so we are really committed in making sure we are able to do that in the right way. And we've already spoken about this, and I know Ruth will get into a bit more detail in terms of how we put this into practice, but these are the AI principles that we follow as Microsoft, and we'll get into a bit more information in terms of how what the kind of tools and and resources we do have in being able to enable you to be able to build these systems responsibly. So I'll pause there and hand it over back to you.
Thank you very much, Winnie. Please, can we just celebrate Winnie in-house? Let's just give it up to Winnie for that wonderful presentation. Thank you very much, Winnie. I'm sure to a large extent. So yes, let's keep it coming. Thank you. So to a large extent, I am now very, very much sure that we've learned some bit of understanding. I mean, we have a very big understanding of what Microsoft Philanthropy is all about, what the project Digital Skills Nigeria is all about, has been subset of the global initiative around training quite a lot of persons. I mean, just to get to that very part. So thank you very much, Winnie, for that wonderful presentation, and I'm sure we've learned quite a lot. So without taking our time, I want us to quickly move to the next point on our agenda, which is the aim of us being here this evening, and that is to really go into the demo workshop talking about the Microsoft Responsible AI Dashboard. And taking the session is no one other than Ruth Yakubu, who is going to be taking the session for the next 30 minutes, delving into what Responsible AI is all about and what and how to go about it. So Ruth, I don't know if you're ready for us. So by the way, Ruth is a senior cloud advocate at Microsoft, and she's here to she'll be doing justice to the Microsoft Responsible AI Dashboard session. So Ruth, I don't know if you are available, if you are ready for us. Okay, she's bringing up our screen. Okay, so good. So Ruth, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Anno. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, we can hear you.
Awesome, awesome. So I am super excited to be giving this demo. As you guys know, in the news headlines in the past couple of years, and let's forget the last couple of years, this between January and today, AI has changed the course of everything that we do. AI is constantly innovating. There are a lot of breakthroughs in AI, as you guys know. And with all these exciting breakthroughs in AI, companies are putting a lot of investments in their products and also within their business processes too, in order to stay competitive and have a competitive advantage. But with all of this, we're also seeing a lot of headlines. So headlines around the use or misuse of AI. And with this excitement, there's also a lot of society scrutiny around AI. A lot of people feel AI needs to be regulated. We need to pause on AI. What is AI doing? But this is not something that we need to panic. It's something that we need to be aware of the goodness and the innovation and what we need to do to mitigate potential issues that may come up. So kind of like how Winnie introduced responsible AI principles, we do hear these concepts constantly in terms of ethical AI or responsible AI. So kind of like how she showed with AI systems, we have to worry about fairness, inclusiveness. Is it inclusive? Is it reliable? Is it safe? We have to think of privacy and security. Then also, we need to also provide transparency. When an AI solution makes a decision, we need to understand how it's going about making decisions and be able to explain that. And also with this transparency, we need to, us as developers or companies that produce AI systems, we also need to be accountable for the AI products and services that we put out there. Another thing that we're also seeing is there's an increased need and ask, and a lot of industries are also regulating AI. So let's say healthcare or financial services. So this is something that we data scientists or AI developers or decision makers have to take very seriously. So for the longest time, we've heard of responsible AI. If you ask anybody, we all agree that these principles are important. But the question is, as a developer, how do I implement it? That sort of thing. So we just had principles and theory, but for the longest time, we did not have practical tools to help us in debugging AI models for potential let's say, data biases or potential harms that it can have on people and society. So one of the exciting things that Microsoft announced last year at Build, actually exactly a year from this month, was the Responsible AI Dashboard. This dashboard is a one-stop shop for developers. So the same way that we're used to training our models, after we train our models, we do a lot of performance metrics to see how well the models are performing, and we see that, hey, the model is 97% accurate, yay, it's good to go. But the question is, how do we actually go and be able to show that the model that we just produce is actually fair? Is it inclusive? Is this reliable? Can we provide transparency? If we get audited or something goes bad, can we show what are the key factors that drove a model's decision? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demo what the Responsible AI Dashboard is. This is using the Microsoft Azure Machine Learning Studio. So it has different end-to-end services as a data scientist, but in the area that I'm going to cover is after you train your model, you have your models. The next thing you can do is go straight and click on the Responsible AI tab on your model details, and it brings up a dashboard. And the dashboard has different components within the tool. So one of the very first thing that I'll cover is error analysis. So for this particular model that we're going to be analyzing or debugging, this is a classification model on financial services. So it's a loan approval model that predicts whether or not individual or applicant should be rejected or approved for a model. So let's say you have your model and you want to see whether your areas that your model is inaccurate. So there are blind spots when you create a model. Even though it says it's 100% accurate, there may be sub-pockets or sub-data groups or sub-demographic that the model is not performing well. So given a certain group, the model may actually be performing, let's say, for a given group, it may just be 40% accurate most of the time. And this may be a key demographic that is crucial for your business need. So one of the things that the error analysis does, it provides a very good tree distribution. And basically what it does is takes your test data, evaluates it, and spits out what its findings are. So the very first node denotes how many data you had in your test data. So in this case, we had 1,050 records. And out of that, we found that 25, when the model was evaluated, 25 of the records, the model predicted incorrectly. So this tree, what it'll do is show areas where the model is not performing right. So as a developer, when you come in here, the dashboard gives you very good indicators, like visual indicators to easily find where the errors are. So the darker the red shows where the highest error rate percentage is, and depending on how full the color is basically how much of the errors happening in this node for this data demographic is part of this overall model error. So in our case, when we look at the table, we can see that the darkest red is here. So for this particular demographic, these are applicants that have a loan tenure that is less than 5.5 months. And the credit utilization percentage that they've used from their loan is greater than 14.5%. So this is where most of the errors are coming from. So as a data scientist, what all you're doing here is identifying those cohorts of data that need further investigation. So for this one, we can highlight that path, click on save, give it a unique name, like, okay, this one is where the errors are happening. So I'll give it maybe a prefix like error, then give what the condition are. So credit util is greater than 14.5, 14.5%, and the loan tenure is less than 5.5 months. So that's how you create your cohorts that you want to later investigate. In my case, I already created that, so we can go ahead and cancel that. Another thing that is very useful, when you know where your highest errors are coming from your model, and you can create as much cohorts as you want, you may also want to look at where are the least errors happening, so you can do a comparative analysis. So in our case, for the same amount of tenure, like if we compare, this one has 0 error rate, 0 coverage. And if we compare over here, we can see at all the root node, it looks like this one is the one with the least error. So we can highlight this path again, and this is the path that has the least error rate, and you save that. And this is very good to compare why is the model behaving very well in this cohort, but not so well in another cohort. Another good thing that the dashboard also does is, this is like, for me, it's a very good cheat sheet because it also lists all the different features that you use in your model when you're creating your models. What are the top features contributing to the model? So this is another good way of finding out where your errors are coming from. It also has a heat map, so you can switch and select, let's do credit score and see what level of errors are coming from the credit score. So when we look at the credit score, and you can add 1 or 2 features, this is like very poor credit score. This is average, this is good. So another thing you can do is just highlight on these different cohorts, look at the error rate. Is it high? In our case, it's low. The 28% coverage, that's how much of the errors happening here are contributing to the overall model errors. So it's 24, 28 is not that bad, but this is how you go about evaluating. But if you guys notice, in this case, the error rate is low, which is good. But if you notice the error coverage, so 12 of the incorrect errors coming out of this cell is contributing to almost half of the errors that are coming from the overall model. So this shows you that, okay, you need to investigate this a little further. So you can click on it and create a cohort. So that's what error analysis actually, the advantages that error analysis gives to the data scientist or the AI developer to identify the different areas that could be potential blind spots that the model is performing erroneously. The next section is a model overview. So traditionally, when we deal with performance, evaluating our models, let's say for classification, we'll look at accuracy, we'll look at recall, precision, we'll look at false positive, false negatives, all of that. Those are all good. But it's good to give a holistic understanding of that to better get a sense of how your model is behaving. One thing that the dashboard does by default is remember the different cohorts that you created in the error analysis. It'll save all of that, but it also has a cohort of all your data. So these are all the total test data that you had. As you can see, our model did very well. It was like 97.976 accuracy, so it's very high. And we look at the false positives and the false negatives. It looks like for the false positive, for the most part, it looks like the loan is being, rejected, even though the participants actually do qualify for the loan. Actually, that's a different cohort. So if you can look.
Ruth.
Yeah.
Apologies, Ruth. Please, can you a bit zoom out? It seems the participants can't get to see the screen. So maybe you can just zoom out a bit. Yes. Yes.
Is that good?
I think it's much better now. Thank you.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Thank you.
Okay. So remember the different cohorts that we created. This is all the data. This is the cohort of data that had the highest error rate. And this is the one that had the lowest error rate. If you look at the accuracy, you can see that, the accuracy actually went lower. So the model is not performing as well as the overall metric that we saw. And for the best performing metric, we see that, okay, all the tests were accurate. So those are the different ways that you can look at the model and the different cohorts and compare and figure out, okay, what's going on, where are the issues, where the model is performing erroneously. Another good thing that you can also look at is for the different cohorts, you can look at the probability distribution. So what is the probability of the different cohorts of data that alone would be approved? So in general, it looks like for the most part, like the upper quartile is 99%, but the median for the approval is 0.46, which is not the best, that sort of thing. So you can also do a comparison to see out of these different applicants that fall within these category, what is the likelihood of them being approved? And the good thing is you can also switch and do the opposite and see, okay, in general, what is the likelihood for this group to be rejected of a loan? Another thing you can also take a look at is the metrics. So for this one, we're looking at accuracy. So we'll look at the accuracy distribution that we saw earlier. We can change to look at, let's say, precision. And as we look at precision, we can see that, okay, the precision is still good for all the data, and the cohort with the lowest error rate. But when we look at the cohort with the higher error rate, we see that the precision has gone down. So the predictions that it's making that an applicant's loan is going to be approved is actually, for the most part, not accurate. So it's gone down. Let's look at recall. If we look at recall, how is it performing? So we know that, okay, the model is truly struggling with this. Another thing we can do is if you want to isolate some of these features, or you have certain features that you want to look a little more closer, you can change to feature-based analysis. So let's say for this, I want to look at gender. So sensitive features like gender, age, race, or ethnicity, those type of stuff, you can easily also look into details like, okay, is the model potentially biased to a certain sensitive demographic? So as we select gender, we see that, okay, for females, the accuracy is pretty good, and the male is actually good. It's also the sample size is 50-50. But we can see that the false positive for males are a lot higher. And also for the false negative for females is a little higher. So you can see that it looks like for females are being rejected for a loan more than their male counterparts. So they're falsely being rejected of a loan, even though they qualify for it, and males are more likely to be approved for a loan. So similar on a individual feature level, you can look at the distribution. You can look at the matrices. You can also look at the confusion matrix of the data. Another area that you can also do analysis is data analysis. If you want to take a closer look, there's a table view. So of all your data, you can actually look at the raw data and see, okay, how many out of the test data were approved? What does the data look like? And how many that were how many were correct? How many were incorrect? You can look at the true outcome versus the model's prediction. So that's another view that you can look. You can also look at things as look at different things to understand your data. So let's look at how our data is distributed. So let's count the number of approvals versus rejected candidates. So we see that, okay, for the most part, the data was actually balanced. We have an equal number of distribution of applicants that were approved and equal that were rejected. question is, what if we look at the same distribution for the applicants that had the model is not performing very well? So that's the one with the highest error rates. So with the highest error rate, these are the applicants where the credit loan credit utility utilization was 14.5%, and the loan tenure was less than or equal to 5.5 months. And if we look at that, we see that for these applicants, it looks like more of them are being approved and less of them are being rejected. So that's an interesting fact. When we look at the one with no errors, we also looked at, even in that distribution, there are more people getting approved and rejected. So this is an imbalance in the data, and this doesn't look right. So it is grounds to look a little more further into reasons why there's some imbalance. So these are examples of where you may have an overall behavior of a model performing a certain way, but on an overall, but if you put it in different cohorts or different types of demographic, you can see how the performance is good or bad. The next thing is also looking at feature importance. So this is where explainability and interpretability comes into hand. So overall, when you look at this model, you're wondering, okay, what are the key features that are driving this model to make a prediction? So when we look, it looks like somebody being pre-approved for a loan is one of the key dominant features that driving a model's decision. How many lines of credit, how many loans or credit cards do they have open? That determines whether they're going to be rejected or not. What is their credit score? What is their gender? As you can scroll further on, you can see all your features and see how much impact they have. One thing that's also confirms our initial concern is it looks like there's a race bias. I say race bias, a gender bias, because gender should not be driving a loan approval. So if gender is one of the top 4 features that are driving a loan approval, we have problems. Another good thing that the dashboard also exposes is, okay, you know what on a global level overall are driving the model's prediction. Now let's look at one of the data points. So we'll look at all the data. Let's pick gender. And let's see, okay, how is the model approving loans based upon gender? So this is a 0 axis. So anything that is above the 0 is positively driving the model to make a prediction of approval. Anything below is negatively impacting this. So if it's we see that, okay, for gender, if the gender is male, that positively influences the model to make an approval. But if an applicant is female, it's negatively impacting. So what's negative of approval is rejecting. So if you're female, it's forcing the model to reject the model. Reject the loan. then that's on a global level. On an individual level, similar to how we saw the raw data, you can also look at some of the individual data. So this is what the loan predicted. So if I'm curious, like, okay, this person should have been approved. Why did the model predict that they should be rejected? You can also look on an individual level and see what were the key features driving a model's prediction. So hang on. So if you look on an individual level, you see pre-approved, credit score, and gender. So it's the same features as the model. Let's see another individual just to make a point. Hang on. That's not a good example. Bear with me. Let's see. So let's look at this individual. Actually, it looks like the same features are there, but the point I was trying to make is as you click through the different individual records, not necessarily the key features that are driving the overall model prediction that we see here is going to be the same as on the individual level. Each individual situation is different. So what makes a model make a prediction is going to be different for one individual versus another. So for the individual that was selected, okay, these are the key factors driving the model's prediction. But since they were rejected, let's see what impact those features had. So it looks like pre-approved open account, the number of open credit accounts that they have, the credit score, all of that were the ones that influenced that rejection that they got. Their gender is actually went against. Their gender was negatively influencing this. So the gender was actually pushing more towards an approval. So those are areas where if you look on the individual basis to figure out, okay, why did the model make a mistake? These are some of the insights that you can go to look into more details and do further investigation why the model made a prediction that it made. Another thing we can look at is something called counterfactuals. And counterfactuals are when you have a model and you want to figure out, okay, if I change certain features in a model, let's say for classification, if I change what features do I need to change? If a loan is approved, what features do I need to change to get it rejected or vice versa? Or if I change the certain features, what would be the model's, how would the model react? So this is very good in a financial type of situation where, let's say I'm a female, so you can select how you want to filter the data. So since we know that this model is being biased against females in terms of approval, the XSI axis will make it female. Then the predicted Y will make it as that. So it's basically, okay, we want to see situations where the model is rejecting a female candidate. So let's see. Oh, that's male. Okay, let's look at female. So if I'm sitting in front of a financial or a loan officer, and they just told me that, hey, your loan got rejected. My question would be, okay, why did it get rejected? So they give me high level information, but really for institutions to provide trustworthiness, they need to provide a little more details and transparency. So this is where transparency comes into picture. This is the original record, so 0 actually denotes to rejected, and this is the rest of the individual's information. But what counterfactuals does when you're configuring the counterfactual, how many suggestions it should give you. You can give the number. In this case, we told it, give me 10 other alternative suggestions on how somebody can take a corrective action and get their loan approved. So with this one, for example, their credit score is 355, which is super low. This is very poor. So how am I going to get my loan approved? One of the suggestions is they currently own a house. They have one loan or credit card out there. This one, they were not pre-approved, but here, well, yeah, they're not pre-approved, so they're not pre-approved. But for this one, it's suggesting that, hey, if you really want this loan approved, you may want to increase your credit score. So these are the different suggestions that you can provide to a user. So let's select that and say, okay, what are the impact of that? So we can actually see the deltas. What is the probability? Like, what's the change? If they make that suggestion for when the loan is, when they go through the loan process again, how are they going to gain in terms of being approved for a loan? So it shows the number of delta. If you liked this, you can go ahead and save that data point. And this is the action that the user is going to take in order to get their loan approved. So those are good transparency things that an institution can provide to increase trustworthiness of their firm and also gain trust from their constituents, but it also holds them in terms of accountability on how they're going about making decisions. One last thing, I know I'm 5 minutes over time, but one thing is the dashboard also provides a capability of a user to generate a scorecard. So you can configure how you want, what you want to be in the scorecard. And this is a scorecard that you can easily take to your stakeholders, decision makers, or your customers to defend your model. So it includes things like, okay, what is your threshold? So your threshold when you're training this model is you want the accuracy score to be equal or greater than 0.5. That was your threshold. What was the model performance after you trained your model? It goes through, since this was a classification, it gave a breakdown, overall breakdown of its finding. It also provided confusion matrix. When it comes to error analysis, it showed that these, the highest ranked cohorts where the model performed very well are these situations, these applicants that had these characteristics. The ones that the model was performing erroneously had these type of characteristics. So this is just an introduction. We have not even scratched the surface in terms of what the dashboard gives you. But this is an example of how a data scientist can go through it and thoroughly debug the model and expose potential issues that could be in the model. Thank you, Anu.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause for Ruth. Can we just celebrate Ruth? So thank you very much, Ruth, for that wonderful session. I was glad that you were able to do justice to that. Thank you very much for that. Please, let's celebrate Ruth in-house. Let's celebrate her. Thank you very much. So once again, you're welcome to this session. If I was unable to introduce you earlier, I mean, if I was able to welcome you, apologies. So my name is Anu Niro, and you're welcome to the Microsoft Responsibility Dashboard session. So over the time we've had, just to quickly take a recap, we've had an opening remark by Winnie. We've also had an hands-on demo session, which was just concluded by Ruth. And because of our time, we're also going to be moving on quickly to the next point on the agenda, which might not be able to take much question, maybe just one or two thereabout. And to take the question is my co-host on this event, in person of Audrey Odogu from Microsoft, who is also the philanthropist lead for Nigeria for Microsoft's philanthropist lead in Nigeria. So Audrey, I don't know if you are available or if you are there, if you are still with us on the call. So this is how it's going to run, everyone. So we're just going to be taking one or two questions. So the quick one, what we need to do is, if you have a question, kindly signify. I'll just speak randomly. You're going to be granted access to speak. So we just want you to speak quickly, and then your question will be answered like almost immediately. So we're waiting. So if you have a question, please kindly use the icon of you raising your hand so that we can. So Mohammed Mubarak Yahaya. So Mubarak Yahaya, you're going to be granted access to speak now, and would intend to get your question, Mubarak Yahaya. So just a minute, okay? So you should have access to speak now, Mubarak Yahaya. So I've allowed your mic, so you should be able to unmute and talk.
Mubarak, can you unmute?
Since your network is a bit bad, okay, so maybe what we can do, can you just type your question? So because of time, so you can just type your question and let's go that route. Apologies for that because of our time and network. So we might just want to
we have one question.
Yeah, sorry, we have several questions that have been typed, and they're already asking us what of the type questions. We have about 5 questions that are typed. You can just check through those type questions. We have about 5 of them already.
Okay, so maybe we'll just pull that. Just a minute. So while the team is trying to pull that together, thank you, Ruth, once again for that lovely session. So because of our time, I don't know if we can peradventure come back to this.
I know we have one question. We can read it out for Ruth to go. So it goes like this. This has no name, and it says, does the dashboard work for pre-trained models? That is, can I bring my pre-built model into the ML Studio for error analysis, or is it just for models built on the Azure platform?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yes, you can totally bring your pre-built models as long as you have the data, the test data that you utilize, the training data, and know whether it's classification. Those are the what parameters you need to specify when constructing the dashboard. So yes, you can bring your pre-trained models.
Okay, we have another one. Can I use this for error analysis for prediction models that works with unstructured data, e.g. images?
That's a very good question. So please tune into Build next week. This would be exciting. there'll be announcements around that. So you'll be thoroughly surprised and excited as well.
Okay, great. The next questions just add EG text to it, the same thing. So I guess the person has to join into the main session that will be coming up. So we have another one that says, isn't it a better practice to rely on behavioral data for modeling and remove sensitive metrics like gender and race from the model?
Actually, you do need sensitive features because sometimes they are actually needed depending on the use case. So when you're doing analysis, you should not modify your model, what it does, just for debugging purposes. Exactly what you're going to put in the market, you bring that model. This is your last, I'll say, scorecard or report card to see how well your model is behaving. So bring the data. The goal is to make sure you're not missing any demographic in terms of inclusiveness or whatnot. And for those sensitive features, okay, how is it represented? Because sometimes, depending on the demographic or the use case, it does make sense that maybe age should be a driving factor of the prediction, that sort of thing. So everything is case by case.
Thank you, Ruth. So we have another question that says, is the feature on MS Azure free account, or is it the licensed account?
So with Azure, it's something that you have to have a Azure subscription. But this is also built on an open source tool, so you can also look up the Responsible AI Toolbox, the open source version.
Okay, great. That question was from Opeolua Iwoshiko. And okay, I think that's about it. Okay, so if people want the link for this software, how can they access the software?
They can access it. Bio would tell them how to access it.
I will speak to that.
Yeah, this is a little sampler of the cake, so we'll tell you how to get the whole cake.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
I think I must have touched on all the questions.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, Audrey.
Because of good.
So
awesome.
I think because of time, we just move on.
Yeah, great. What a great time we've had today at this very auspicious workshop. I'm sure a lot of us have learned. I can pick a lot of comments on the chat room. Over almost 400 people getting to commit to responsible AI practice. I'm so excited about it. It's very simple interface, drag and drop, and it's such a much needed tool for all of us, so that we build less harmful and more accountable AI models. Like many of you will have noted, there's still so much to learn, and that is why this is just like the kickoff of a long journey. But I want to thank our lead speaker, Ruth, for doing justice to the concept, showing us how to go beyond our fantastic accuracy, precision, and recall to learning how to debug our models and unbox the black box. And of course, to thank our chief host, Winnie, who leads the broader program to empower young Nigerians with the right skills for job. And I'm sure a lot of you should be excited about that this is just part of a bigger picture to engage a lot of young Nigerians. And for Microsoft, it's not just about having the right data skill, it's also about doing data in the right way. And that is why we are focusing a lot about accountable, fair, and unbiased use of data. Of course, thanks to Akwe Ogene as well for coordinating the questions and all that. So, ladies and gentlemen on the call, I really want to mention some very important people who have been part of our drive to lead, to advocate for an inclusive and equitable society that is built on effective use of AI model through responsible model practice. We have members of the FinTech Association of Nigeria who are on this call, and it's extremely very important that we appreciate you for joining the session. Also, we have a lot of our champions who are promoting the principles and practice of responsible AI. They are our strategic partners. They are very established professionals who have committed to promoting the practice of AI, responsible AI. So they are using their social media pages. So you can also be part to educate and motivate others to start practicing that. So I celebrate you all. You can see their names on the screen. They are our partners, within DSN and outside DSN community, educating people on what responsible AI means. Let me also acknowledge various data and digital rights groups who have also joined this event. As you are aware, these advocacy groups help us to champion the need to respect the digital rights of Nigerians. And this is very critical, to how we embed responsible AI on how we make decisions. So join me to celebrate all of them as they are being shown on the screen. There are quite a lot of them from Tech Society, Budgeted, CC Hub, Paradigm Initiative, Impact Hub, and several of them. Because for us, it's not just an event, it's a continuous engagement. So if you want to be part of this revolution, you can still be part to educate as many people as possible on this whole conversation. And to our very esteemed audience who have stayed with us in the last 50 minutes, thanks for joining the event. For those who have asked the question about the video will be available for you to watch again and again. So expect a link after this event. So the big question that many of you may be asking is, what is next? Yes, there's so many things coming after this. We have a major next session, and it's a practical, hands-on masterclass where experts will be on ground for coaching on using the platform. So we're going to get our hands dirty by learning the nitty-gritty of the dashboard as presented as a demo today. And this will happen on Saturday, 17th of June, exactly 1 month from today. And this will take place at Microsoft Office in Lagos. So as I'm speaking, the link to register is being shared in the chat room. The seats are already filling up, and you need to register to secure a seat. Seats are very, very limited. Ruth and many other leading Microsoft experts will be on site to teach, to guide, and get many of us to really understand how to embed and apply the broader concept of responsible AI. And of course, after the physical class, we're going to take the journey to the next level. We're going to run a major hackathon to test our ability to detect bias and unfairness in specific AI models. And it's going to be, there'll be a lot to win. So the more errors you find, the higher your score. And of course, you stand a huge chance to win some great stuff. So watch out for details at the June 17 event. So register right away and secure your seat. So on this note, I want to thank the project team from DSN for their amazing work. As Winnie said, this is a part of a bigger Microsoft job intervention partnership with the federal government of Nigeria. We are running learning program across 50 locations in Nigeria. And we are focusing on Microsoft tools that can prepare young Nigerians for data-oriented jobs. So please check out for all the details and promote it among your friends and families, especially the National Youth Service Corps members, NYC, and many youths in our community who need the right skills to build the future they deserve. As you know, for us at DSN, we're very committed to democratizing AI knowledge and advancing practice through research, solution development, AI product building, consulting, and of course, with over 500,000 trained, via our various learning intervention, we believe that everyone can enhance their career opportunities by learning the right skills and embrace the realities of the fourth industrial revolution. And that is why we're excited to work with Microsoft to drive this massive an astounding commitment to advance the practice of AI with the responsible AI dashboard and the National Job Intervention Program. So ladies and gentlemen, we believe that with better AI models, we're going to build a better society. So we look forward to seeing you on Saturday, 17th of June, 2023, exactly a month from today, for the hands-on practical class. So register now and just make sure that in everything you do, you are conscious and aware that the world is made better when we build a very responsible AI that will not do it, that will do less harm and be more accountable by being very, very transparent and being very fair to everyone concerned. So thank you so much for joining us. So we say take care and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Microsoft, AI is not about replacing human beings, it's about enhancing human ingenuity.
The whole aim of Data Science Nigeria is to build an ecosystem for talent access, talent enrichment, and talent deployment. So raise their capacity, get them to be enriched with global best practices through mentorship and learning, and get them to be deployed in research, deployed in leading organizations, or deployed as a tech startup. So it's an end-to-end mechanism that we're.
And with the liberalization of the telecoms industry, we realized that from a country that had a less than 1% tele-density, all of a sudden we were rising to 100% tele-density. And then the use of technology for financial services, or what we call mobile or digital financial services.
So these are practical applications of the things that we're able to do today. We know that today we're entering the fourth industrial revolution. And actually, it's been said already that data is the new oil. So if Nigeria is to repurpose itself and reposition itself in the community of nations and move away from being oil and gas dependent, we need to start skilling up our people. We need to understand that actually data is everything.
Today, many of the people operating are working with the silo data. So Alat is trying to get its data, SMB is trying to get its data, the telcos are trying to get the data. But AI is able to help us leverage this huge asset we have to address the financial inclusion issue.
This is a live bank. I confirm. And then this is where we have used the Microsoft technology. So it wants me to align my face, show my teeth. That's it. So this is the matching of work. This is the advanced facial matching.
Yeah, my personal message was on the purpose when I time to reflect as well. I got inspired by some visionary leaders in Africa.
Oh, it's been awesome. I got some of the speakers that participated here today.
As Microsoft, we see the future of the world is driving more towards intelligent systems. And key amongst this is the financial services, because banks rely heavily, a ton, on data. And so as Microsoft, we invest in this specific area, because if we can enable financial institutions and startups that will live within the financial ecosystem to provide money and capital, in most of the cases, to people who don't have access to it, they can improve themselves. And this ties into Microsoft's key mandate, which is to enable every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And so we do try and cover that from end to end.
I think first we need to understand what data science is all about, or perhaps artificial intelligence. Its ability to interpret things that are complex, things that are natural puzzles that a normal mind cannot understand. And it means that you're bringing data from different sources to make meaningful decisions. You know, when it comes, and it becomes more complex when you come into financial industry, when you cannot make an error. If you give money to the wrong people, you can shut down, you can run bankrupt. So it becomes important to begin to explore how best to use data, or perhaps to use artificial intelligence, which largely means we cause man's thinking and machine thinking to come together, and we create exponential capability to interpret complex problems, analyzing data that naturally an ordinary man cannot make sense of. And those data are not necessarily numbers. They might be videos, they might be audios, they might be text, to determine the opportunity to make decisions on who to have access to loan and what should not have access to loan. So broadly, that is how it becomes applicable.
The participants were able to see firsthand, have a hands-on experience on how to use the Azure Machine Learning Studio and Azure Machine Learning Service to operationalize their models.
It has been mind-blowing. I've been mind-blown.
I'm a cadet of the Nigerian Police Academy. I really want to appreciate the organizers first, before any other thing, for giving the police the chance to be involved in this super package.
And we hope that this agreement continues to work, and to that extent that we're able to impact value in the lives of the very young talents who are trying to build a career around analytics.
I love the concept of Data Science Nigeria because it allows students and people from the industry to come in and learn as much as they can around data science, and some of the things that they can actually build around that. And they go in depth, which I think is really, really powerful.
Thanks to DSN for bringing on this great opportunity, bringing all youths from different schools.
Came out here today because I am on a mission to collaborate with like-minded people to accelerate the adoption of AI across the continent of Africa.
Talents are everywhere, but opportunities are not everywhere. So developing the pool of talents here, so what Data Science Nigeria is doing is trying to bring opportunities to people here, and at the same time developing talents.
I think that this is just the beginning, and it's been off to a very, very good start. There's still a lot more to do, and I'll be happy to be part of this personally and make sure that my company is back.
I think for me, just continue to talk about the opportunity that there is in data to really change the narrative in the country. I think we've learned how we could use big data to solve a lot of our problems, and the fact that Data Science Nigeria is very committed to capacity building, and we're going to continue to see a lot of that. And we're very happy as Microsoft to continue to partner with them and seeing how we can help to develop this ecosystem and make sure that data is really doing the right things for the country and really impacting lives and changing society.
Okay, but care to throw more light on how Microsoft is partnering with big data to push forward machine learning and the rest?
Okay, a lot of it is around capacity building and making sure that we match the right resources, to the activities that are going on here. As you can see, the key note speaker for today is an employee of Microsoft who came all the way from the US. He's a professor and is also an employee, of the company. And this is him coming here to engage with us. We provide that to Data Science Nigeria. We brainstorm on ideas together, and we also, co-sponsor events that they do. So we'll continue to look at how we can get, the right resources to meet with the community, to continue to develop the capacity of our own local ecosystem so that they can be very proficient in the right tools for building the practice of data science as a whole.